Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our forum today regarding understanding more on treaties. First of all, I would like to introduce to all of you about our panel for today's forum. We have with us today Professor Dr. Ong Teck Yee, a lecturer of Public International Law from the Faculty of Law at the National University of Malaysia. Joining us as well is Professor Dato' Sri Panglima Dr. Muhammad Amirul Hakimi, a lecturer in Public International Law, Faculty of Law, University of Malaya. And last but not least, we have Mr. Putra Muhammad, Head of Unit of Human Rights and International Organizations, International Affairs Division, Attorney General Chambers of Malaysia. Welcome to our forum. As we all know, there are four sources of international law, and the significant ones are treaties. The term treaty is the generic form adopted by the Vienna Convention to embrace all kinds of binding international agreements. In real-life practice, we could use the numbers of terms to indicate an international agreement. For that, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Teck Yee to explain to us about what is a treaty and its role under international law.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Treaty is a legally binding contract between two states at least, as there can be more than two states that enter the treaties. The agreement, the protocol, and the charter are collectively known as treaty, but most of them are not treaty in a strict sense. Treaty is a binding contract. For example, the Charter of Paris is not binding, is therefore not a treaty, whereas the United Nations Charter is binding and therefore is a treaty. Treaty is important as it maintains the international order and world peace. That's all from me. Thank you.
So as we can see that a treaty is the very foundation of international law itself. So I would like to thank you, Professor Dr. Teck Yee, for enlightening us about treaties and their role as one of the most important sources in international law. Moving on, Dato' Amirul. Our country is an active country in engaging in treaties. So I would like to ask, what treaties have Malaysia been involved in and why Malaysia wants to be involved in those treaties? Dato' Amirul, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me the opportunity to enlighten everyone upon this matter. So let me assist you step by step about what is happening. First of all, I do believe that everyone here already knows that Malaysia is an active country in engaging in treaties based on what Mr. Moderator has said just now. And this statement is very true, as Malaysia often involved as a representative in several treaty-making activities and international conference, and also ratified a lot of treaties in the past few years. To answer the question given just now, I may include two examples of treaties that Malaysia be involved in and explain why Malaysia wants to be involved in those treaties. For the first one, it will be the Convention on the Right of Person with Disability, or we can call it as CRPD. The purpose of this convention was explained in Article 1 of the convention, which stated that the convention's goals are to encourage respect for people with disabilities' innate dignity and to guarantee that all people with disabilities are able to fully and equally enjoy all human rights and basic freedoms. The main reason why Malaysia was involved in this treaty is because the CRPD covered various aspects of disability rights, from the enjoyment of life to the right to seek education and protection against abuse and violent conduct. So moreover, Malaysia passed the Person with Disabilities Act in 2008 prior to ratification to demonstrate its commitment to the obligation outlined in the UN CRPD. So Malaysia has reserved a few articles for under UN CRPD, including those in Article 15 and 18. The ideals of equality and non-discrimination as expressed in Article 3 subsection B, 3E and Article 5 subsection 2, as well as participation in cultural activities, leisure time and sports, were also given interpretive statement according to Article 30. So next, the second example, Malaysia also ratified the Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, where the signature on the ratification had been done by the Minister of Foreign Affairs on 30 September 2020. So ratify the TPNW is Malaysia's tangible effort to advance the cause of nuclear disarmament on the international stage. It also reaffirms Malaysia's unwavering commitment and support towards the total elimination of nuclear weapons. So Malaysia has participated in the disarmament of nuclear weapons in 3 major international conferences since 2013. The country participation in the first ever intergovernmental conference on the humanitarian impact of nuclear weapons hosted by Norway in Oslo in 2013, as well as the second and third similar conference held in Nayarit, Mexico and Vienna, Austria respectively, a year later, indicated that the nation's unwavering commitment to nuclear disarmament. Thus, it can be seen that Malaysia is an active country involved in treaties and some international conference on the matter of international issues. That's all.
It has been made clear to us that Malaysia truly believes that treaty is an instrument to build world peace and cooperation. So thank you, Professor Dato' Seri Panglima Dr. Muhammad Amirul Hakimi, for the clear explanation about Malaysia's involvement in treaties. I believe all of our audience have understood the reason behind Malaysia's involvement in certain treaties. However, there is a treaty that has been sparking a long debate in Malaysia, which is the treaty with regards to the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, also known as ICER. Therefore, I would like to invite our third panelist to explain more about this ICER treaty. Mr. Putra, what do you have in store for our audience today?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for your question. You look dashing today. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to the floor for giving me the chance to talk about ICER. So, I would like to point out 2 views on ICER. On why ICER is defined or objected in Malaysia, and another view is why ICER is supported to be implemented in Malaysia. The first one is 3 points why ICER is defined in Malaysia. ICER is called ICER is defined as international elimination of all racial discrimination, or ICER in simpler terms. ICER is not supported in Malaysia because first, people fear if ICER was implemented in Malaysia, then Malaysia's sovereignty or Malaysia's powers to govern itself will be eradicated. That's why ICER is not supported in Malaysia. And the second point on why ICER is not supported in Malaysia is because Malaysia has its own way of constitutional or way of govern, in which in the case in the Federal Constitution, Article 153 states that there are certain preferential treatments or advantages given to some races. For example, the indigenous people or the Bumiputra people, they have they have a chance to go into UiTM or University Technology Mara, whereas races of Chinese and Indian are not allowed to go to UiTM, for example. Other preferential treatments such as scholarships, quotas, land quotas, and all that shows that there are constitutional discrimination, but it was agreed upon in 1957 when we achieved Merdeka or independence. The third reason why Malaysia does not support ICER is because Malaysia has its own views on what is racial discrimination and what is not. Alright, so the point supporting ICER is because Suhakam views that racial discrimination cannot be eliminated totally, but ICER is one of the ways that we can enhance the effort to eradicate racism in Malaysia. That's why I think, from my personal opinion, in order for Malaysia to rectify ICER, we must further our investigations, further our researches to show that ICER is actually suitable or not in Malaysia. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for the clear explanation, Mr. Putra. So I believe all of our audience had fun listening to our forum today. Allow me to conclude today's forum, since we have made it clear on what the treaty is and its role. In our view, we concur that the treaty is one of the sources of international law and is used in deciding a dispute as guaranteed under Article 38(1)(a) of the International Court of Justice. It has always been the primary source of legal relations between entities or states. The main instrument that regulates treaties is the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties, also known as VCOLD. VCOLD governs treaties irrespective of its subject, matter, or objectives. Well, now we'll be moving on to the Q&A session. I'd like to invite anyone from the audience seat to share your thoughts or any questions that you can ask to our panelists. Okay, I see one right there. Okay, can you state your name and what academic year are you in?
Okay, good evening. I bid to the moderator and amazing panelists. I am Aing, a third year student. So my question is, I would like to ask in regards to the termination of treaties. So in what situation treaties can be terminated?
Thank you to Ms. Aing for that brilliant question. Professor Dr. Teki, would you like to answer this question?
Treaties can be terminated by two ways. The first one is the withdrawal of treaties, and the second one is the suspension of treaties. I'll explain both of them one by one. The withdrawal of treaties is addressed in the Article 56 of Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties. It occurs when the parties of the contract itself withdraw the treaties. And for the second one, suspension, it occurs when there is a branch impossible to perform or the emergence of new jus cogens. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you to our first panelist. I hope this answers Ms. Ain's question just now. Okay, do we have any more questions from the floor? Yes, please do ask away.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Aimi. I'm currently in my third year. So my question is to Dato' Amirul. In ensuring that a treaty takes into account the opinions of the people as a whole, what approach do the government take?
Okay, thank you for the questions. So let me explain it in simple words. The Dewan Rakyat has agreed to create a special select committee on foreign affairs. These are new instruments and methods for us to ensure that any treaty will be considered by the people and especially this honorable parliament. That's all.
Well, I guess that is all from us today. Thank you for sparing some of your precious time to be part of our forum. Till then, see you in our next installation. Thank you and God bless.